I thought I'd talk to you about my home buying experience. So at first, we weren't going to buy a home until later this year because our lease was ending for an apartment, and then we were like, okay, so around the summertime we'll start looking because our lease expires in September. But then we were like, oh, we should just like look around so that way we know what to expect. All of a sudden, the rates fell. This was before it dropped to zero. So it dropped, and then so we were locked in at around, I think, 3% initially.
3.5.
3.5% initially, which is pretty good. And at first, I thought we had found a good spot. It had a parking spot. It had a dishwasher, washer dryer, and we don't have that currently in this studio. So we were like, oh, okay, like it'll be fine. And then the HOA was also super low. I think it was also below 200,000, and we thought like, oh my god, this is like amazing. And then this is like everything goes downhill. We read Yelp reviews, and oh my god, if someone takes the time to write an essay about a complex, it probably isn't that great. So yeah, this person was like, oh my god, there was flooding. It went up to this like poor woman's knees, and like she had to have firefighters rescue her out from the elevator. That was really scary to think about. The scariest part was when they were sort of implying that the board was embezzling money. Some of the people living in the condos haven't seen sunlight for a year. Apparently they just like tarped up the place. And so there was no natural sunlight for a year because the project hasn't been moving. We're like, oh yeah, there's something called like HOA rules and the bylaws and that you should order. And just like read through, see if you agree with anything, disagree with anything. And when I got it, I was just like, oh my god. There were fees everywhere. If you have a big package, there's a fee. Like if you want to borrow something, there's a fee. I was just like, what the heck? Because this was like not even a fancy place. They asked like for $7,000. It was like a special assessment for a balcony door. And when we visited, it was totally fine. I couldn't hear the wind. I'm pretty sure water wasn't coming in either. So I don't understand why they needed the balcony door fixed when they were still working on this other project that was sucking their funds dry, because I think they went from 3 million in reserves to close to 900,000, which is like quite a bit. And this was like a decently big building, but like I don't know, I felt like that project should not have been that expensive. So there was definitely something shady going on. So after that, we were like, rescind our offer immediately. I think after that situation, our real estate agent got a little bit weird with us because we are pretty low maintenance. Like I just want a low HOA. So HOA is the homeowners association, and that is the fee that you pay every month just for things like upkeep, snow removal, the door man or door woman. And it's just supposed to help keep the building running. So like if you have lights in the hallway, the HOA fee goes towards paying the electricity bill. I want it to be within my budget. I was willing to go up to like 300,000 for a 1-bedroom maybe. Like I could maybe live without the washer dryer in unit, but I really wanted a dishwasher because I was doing dishes all the time. My hands are getting dry. So actually, before this even started, after I learned, oh wait, you should actually compare mortgage rates, we went to better.com and they were like, okay, we can give you 2.75%. And of course, 2.75 is better than 3.5%. So we're like, hey, Quicken Loans, if you can match 2.75, like, we'll go with you. And then we're just, we have the money too to pay more down. So they were like, okay, let's see what we can do, like shorten your loan. They came back and they were like, yep, okay, fine. We can match the 2.75% if you take out a 12-year loan instead of like the 15-year loan. And we're like, that's fine. So then we started looking at more places again. We would go after work, we would go on the weekends, and then our real estate agent was like, hey, I can't just be going to like one place. And I was like, okay. And he was like, you have to send me a list of like maybe 5-6 places that you want to hit up, and then we will try to make them all on the weekend or something. And we were like, okay, fine. So then we would send him a whole list. Some of them were like 3 units in one building. Like one time he showed up and we ended up getting a tour of the wrong unit. But it was fine, it was fine. We were still like thinking about our budget at the time. We were like, okay, it does not make sense to pay more than $300,000 for the apartment because what you get isn't really worth it. Some of the HOAs are super high. It doesn't even come with a washer and dryer in some places. And even though the appliances are super new, if you think about it, appliances are a one-time purchase. Like you do not want to pay taxes on like a microwave that's fancy. You know, like you just want to buy the microwave after you move in and buy the place for the lower price because that way you don't have to pay property tax and all that crap like every single year. So that's what was going through our heads. And then after we rescinded our offer, and we went to multiple places after that, but their reserves were really low, and we would read reviews and they weren't that great. Like some of them were on the fence, or sometimes the place was so small, I was like, 2 people cannot live here. When we were talking to our real estate agent about that, he would get a little bit weird. This was the part where he was starting to push more properties onto us, and we were just like not comfortable. So after a while, we went back to Quicken Loans and we were like, hey, we still want to work with your agents. It's just not that one. They were able to get someone else. There were actually 2 units in the same building. So we actually saw that one before without our real estate agent, which apparently wasn't supposed to happen. Like, I don't know. This lady was just like, I'm in a rush. So then we talked about it, and in the end, we did end up buying it. So then after that, you put in your offer. So we were negotiating back and forth, back and forth. Like she would say a higher number, I'd say a lower number. This is also Chicago, so the market is a little bit more fair value because property taxes are rising. So I'm pretty sure most people who are selling probably just don't want to pay like the HOA fee on top of the increasing property tax. So we were able to negotiate pretty low. She actually paid a lot for the place, and we were like, I don't know, man, that's pretty small. And then we put down earnest money, which also goes towards your down payment. And they were just like, oh, you should put more than $1,000 down, so that way it shows that like you're really serious about buying this place. Like we're asking for the HOA rules for this new place now, and like she wouldn't even have it. She would be like, what are you talking about? Like that type of attitude. And I'm here like, oh my God. Our first attorney was being a dick to us, and he was just like, just so you know, you kind of have to accept this place. And we were like, no, we are not going to take some random place like that we haven't seen in all of its entirety just because this lady's like not letting us in. She's not responding to our like questions and stuff. And he was just like, well, technically you have to like agree to it within 10 days or something like that. And like he just rubbed us the wrong way. So then we spoke to our real estate agent, and she's like, it's okay, he's gone. And she had a talk with him. Our real estate agent recommended our attorney, so that was like pretty easy, and all he did was schedule a call, and then he asked, okay, what do you want fixed? Like, what do you want in your apartment that you see needs like improving or things like that? So there was some mold in the bathroom. It's like really common. So then we were like, could you just like clean that? She didn't tell us she was in Texas at the time, so she was just like, I'll put in $10 credit for tile cleaner. And I was like, okay, bitch. We would ask for electricity bills. So the HOA covers almost everything for utilities except electricity. But then she just never came up with that. So I was like, okay, thanks. And then we brought in the inspector. Because there was a person living there, we had to tell the owner at the time like what day we would like to visit and what time, so that way they can tell the tenant. We would like go around, look at all the appliances, and then make notes and things like that. And then our inspector would tell us, hey, this is broken, this is like how you can fix it, things like that. How much would this cost? Or like this crack over here is just cosmetic, or this crack you might want to get it fixed, things like that. Overall, there weren't too many things. It was just really dusty, if I'm being honest. After that, we had an appraiser come in from Quicken Loans. And to be honest, I feel like they didn't really look at everything. There were a couple things missing on the check boxes. We got no garbage disposal after I saw the report. I think it's like a 30-page report that we got, and it's supposed to analyze the markets. What are some of the similar units around your area and how much did they sell for? And then what does your unit have that can bring up the value? What's wrong with it? And like that might bring down the value. The appraisal value was higher than what we offer, so that's a good sign. You know, that means you're paying less. But then later you get the final walkthrough. So the problem was we were supposed to close end of March. We actually suggested around the first week of April, but she pushed back and was like, no, I want this closed as soon as possible. And we're like, okay, let's do the end of March. Like 3 weeks later, she would be like, no, we have to do first week of April. I still have the tenant living there. And I was just like, okay, on the listing it says that she's gonna move out in February. Like where'd you get like March and April? Like, oh my god, like you were the one who wanted March. You know, so it was really frustrating dealing with this seller, and to be honest, their attorney just really sucked. And during the final walkthrough, you basically just look around and see if anything has changed, because there was a tenant living there. So at the time there's like furniture everywhere, like the floors were hidden, so we had no idea. We were like, oh my god, what if the floors are all scratched up under the couch and like you just can't see? Because I've seen that before when I was looking at homes like in 4th grade during the recession. I would like lift up the rug and I would see just like cat scratch marks everywhere. We got an email saying that the mirror broke, like the tenant broke it while she was cleaning, and I was like, how do you break a mirror while you're cleaning it? And so we go there, and to be honest, it sounded like the whole thing chipped on the bottom, and like you're just gonna be missing like this half of your face when you're in the bathroom. And so I was just like, oh god, like one more thing to do, because the stove, one of the buttons like was just yanked out, and I was just like, okay, like why can't you just glue it back? But I guess, you know, they're not into that. Also, like this tenant, I don't know. She just put so many nail holes into everything and hung up so many photos of herself all throughout the apartment. The apartment's already small enough. Like her face showed up at least 20 times. So during the final walkthrough, we looked around and you can actually see everything because there's no more furniture. And we were like, oh my god, there are cracks in the wall, there are cracks in the ceiling, there are cracks here, there are scratches everywhere. Like, I don't know, this thing's crumbling. The screen door broke, and we were like, what is going on, you know? So the mirror we saw, there's like a 3x3 array of glue drops that turned black from all the gunk and like the humidity in the bathroom. And I guess since it's like 10 years old, like when she was cleaning it, it just fell, and like a little corner cracked. It wasn't that bad. So yeah, that was pretty great that we got $425 for that mirror. And then there was also the wall. We don't like the wall because it makes the apartment seem a lot smaller than it actually is. Like, we get that it's supposed to divide the kitchen and like the living, like the bedroom area, but like we're totally fine. Like, we live in a pretty open studio right now, and we're just like fine with each other's presence. So then we took photos of everything during the final walkthrough, and we were like, hey, this is gonna cost us this much to fix. Like, it wasn't in the appraisal because, okay, the tenant took the shelves too. Shelves are a fixture, and it depends on what state you are in, but you are not supposed to take the fixtures. The fixtures are part of the home. And so this girl took the shelves. This girl also took the carbon monoxide alarms down, and she put it on her bar, and I was like, okay. Let me tell you, this seller was really annoying. We were just like, we're not putting up with your shit anymore. You give us the $420 or else, like, we don't care. You know, it was also when the pandemic was getting more serious and open houses were just closed. I've heard lots of HOA boards saying like, no, we are not allowing any visitors at this time. I think she felt a little bit locked in, which is good. Like, we wanted to put pressure on her. And so she gave in. She gave us $425 of credit. Okay, during this time, let me tell you how annoying the seller was. Anytime we would ask a question through our attorney, it would take her 3 weeks to get back to us. And the answers, they weren't even numbered correctly. And so I would be looking at this and I'm like, they totally just skipped a question. Like, what is this? And so I'm here like just asking for the electricity bill. We actually never got the electricity bill, so we have no idea what to expect. We were doing the final walkthrough. Our real estate agent told us, oh, by the way, her real estate agent has been hounding her every single day asking, hey, are we clear to close? Did we get the clear to close? And I'm here like, we didn't even get the electricity bill that we asked for maybe 2 months ago. So then when we did get the clear to close and we went through our final walkthrough, we took photos of everything and we were able to negotiate. This is where it gets like a little bit funky because of the pandemic. We were supposed to close, I think on a Friday, but then that kept getting pushed. So then we ended up closing the week after. And then our attorney wasn't there, but they had a representative from the law firm who was on the phone, and then the seller had their attorney there. And he was in his own shady little room talking because we still hadn't discussed everything. Because all of a sudden we're like, oh my god, there are cracks. We asked for $6,000, I think a little even more than that. But it was under $7,000 in credits. We eventually settled on $3,000. So all in all, it ended up costing $232,000 without the credits, but it's great because I think we took out a good chunk of her money too.
She had more fees than we did.
So yeah, at the moment we were just waiting for renovations to be done, and then we can like vacuum up the place and move in. Yeah, and our lease here should be ending, which is great because, to be honest, the ceiling is crumbling. It's actually crumbling. Like, pieces are breaking, and in the middle of the night you'll just hear like things fall on the carpet. Yeah, no biggie. Like, it's pretty old. And then we were also having like a case of German roaches. That is no buenos. Like, we called an exterminator and he really did do a good job. So we don't see the big ones anymore. There's still some. Because they don't come out during the day, I'll wake up at like 2 a.m. and then I'll see a couple and I'm like, oh my god. So that hasn't been fun. You know what? I am super excited for my washer and dryer because I'm just so sick of paying for like crazy outrageous amounts for like one load. Back in Boston, one load to wash was $7 and then it was $3.50 to dry. We didn't even live like that close to the laundromat. We would have to drive our car there and like park, and sometimes the parking lot was full. I have seen too many people just chilling in their underwear because they ran out of clothes, and at least they were super nice though. So there was that. Our mortgage really isn't too bad. It ends up being even cheaper than our current rent. So yeah, that was my experience in buying a home and looking around and all that. So hopefully you know what to look forward to.